Welcome to the most important week of the year for the podcast industry. Welcome to Podcast Movement 2025.
Good afternoon. How's everyone doing today? Woo, yeah. I know, it's 2:30. My name is Brian Cottington. I am the video editor and designer at Libsyn, and I'm very happy to be here with you all today. Because I'm going to talk about a subject that I've grown to really love, and that is using AI in your podcast workflow, especially if you're doing video, right? AI is on everyone's mind, and we're going to talk about it today. So what are we going to cover? Well, I'm going to try to answer the question, is AI going to replace me? Right? How many of you have seen some articles where it's like, you're going to be replaced by a robot? Yep. Well, we're going to try to answer that question if that's actually true. And we're going to do it by looking at a historical perspective that I think rings really true to this topic. One that, if you are of a certain age, like myself, an elder millennial, this will ring kind of similar. And then I want to go into some basic AI prompt use to get the most juice out of your AI outputs that are not only what you need for your podcast, but are also authentic. And then we're going to focus on 4 areas where I really believe that AI shines the brightest for podcasters, both audio and video as well. And then we're going to round out by talking a bit about the future of AI, which is AI agents and adding automation to this framework. So, is AI going to replace me? Is a robot going to start doing podcasts better than a human? Well, you might think so. These are some article titles that I pulled that kind of spell doom and gloom, right? You have AI replacing thousands of jobs per month. You have AI podcasts now that are created where there's no host. It's just a robot that has synthesized voice. You might think as a podcaster, why should I even start? The robot's going to do it better than me. And the truth is, AI can in fact do a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. AI can do copywriting really well, can write your blogs, your newsletters, all that stuff really well. It can create images really well, like this one that is in my slide, okay? Can do image generation exceptionally well. As a video person, I'm a little threatened by the AI audio and video generation. Have you seen some of these videos out there now that AI has been making? It's kind of scary, okay? And on top of that, data analysis. What used to take a person maybe a good couple weeks to analyze data can now be done almost instantly through the use case of AI. And the truth is, it's getting smarter. Okay, with every new model, more features are coming out, and it's just getting to the point where honestly, we can't ignore it anymore. But the thing is, I have heard this fear before. Okay, I will absolutely date myself. I'm turning 40 in a couple days, September 3rd. Thank you. Thank you. And I remember when I was in high school, and there was another piece of technology that was threatening the livelihoods of people, that was threatening entire industries. And I bet if you were a teenager in the 2000s, you know what I'm talking about. Piracy. Specifically digital piracy. That is what I'm talking about. The digital distribution of media files, right? Napster, LimeWire, Morpheus. Everybody remember those? Yeah. That's digital distribution, folks. And you had titles like this, like, remember when Lars Ulrich went in front of legislators and said, there's not going to be any music anymore. There's not going to be any films anymore because digital distribution was the problem, right? So yeah, the evil digital distribution, this new concept was threatening the physical media market. People aren't buying CDs, they're not buying VHSs or DVDs back then because you've got internet that's fast enough that you can share media files, right? So this was scary, and it led to costly lawsuits. It led to fines being levied against people. You had campaigns like the "You Wouldn't Steal a Car, so You Wouldn't Steal a Movie" that honestly didn't really do what we thought it was going to do, right? And what did we get for all that effort? Well, digital distribution is the primary way that we consume media today. If you did not have piracy, that whole influx of using digital distribution methods. You wouldn't have Netflix. You wouldn't have Amazon. You wouldn't have streaming platforms. You wouldn't have social video platforms like TikTok and YouTube, okay? Because piracy, even though it was nefarious and even though it was unethical and did lead to economic problems, it gave us a taste of how to consume media in a different way. Podcasting itself is a product of that digital distribution. This leads me to thinking and coming back to AI about the power of intention, okay? For AI, I don't look at AI as the problem. I don't look at the technology as the problem. I look at the user's intention as the problem. Can AI be used for unethical and, I would say, detrimental tasks? Absolutely, 100%. Okay, but can it also be used to prevent burnout? Especially if you're a solo creator or a solo podcaster, can it help you do what you do best better? 100%. And with that said, how do you even use AI, right? We know we're going to use this tool, but what's the best way to use it? Okay? I love this picture, by the way. It just cracks me up each time. But it really boils down to prompt mastery. If you understand how to use a prompt, how to build a prompt, you will get the best outputs possible. It's an idea of good information going in leads to amazing AI outputs. What does that information entail, though? Well, if you're a podcaster or you're a YouTuber, it could be anything from what your audience is, who your audience is, how do they like your podcast? You know, what is your podcast voice? Okay, if you're doing an entrepreneurial type of podcast, that's going to be different in voice from, say, a comedy podcast. Okay, what's your niche? You know, like I do a movie review podcast, it's going to be a different niche than, say, another type of podcast that's about basket weaving. Okay, and then also you want to detail information about the intended outputs. If you're creating a blog, there are certain parameters that blog needs to follow to be as effective as it can be in doing the work of being found in Google and search, right? So you need to put in what that information is. Now, all this might feel really overwhelming because you're like, well, I don't know all of those parameters. I know what works for my show. How do I get the best prompt? Well, there's a trick, and I can't take credit for this trick because I got to attribute it to Doc Rock over at Ecamm. How do you know Doc Rock? You guys heard of him? Oh, you should. Okay, back there someone has. Doc put out this video a couple months back where he detailed how he has a conversation with the AI. He turns the microphone on ChatGPT and just starts asking it the best way to produce a prompt. So you're having a conversation. You're treating it like a person. And he got really good results. So I took that practice and did it myself. So let's look at some good and bad prompts. This right here is a terrible prompt. And it's probably something that we've all done in this room if you've ever cracked open ChatGPT. It's write me a blog post for my podcast about the movie Jaws. That's not good. That's a generic prompt. And a generic prompt is going to give you AI sludge. Okay? There's not a whole lot of information there other than just like, I want a blog post about Jaws. What we can do, though, is through talking to the AI, we can start breaking it out through 3 core sections for the prompt. This first part is setting the mindset. It's telling the AI, hey, I want you to analyze this problem and think about the solution this way. So in this case, you're a skilled film writer, SEO strategist, and a podcast marketer, and I host a movie review podcast, and I want you to write a blog post about our episode reviewing the film Jaws. In that one sentence alone, there is a lot of information on how the AI should respond. On top of that, we want to also include who is our audience for this. So we want to be detailed in that case as well. So primarily men aged 20 to 45 who are film nerds, pop culture enthusiasts, and they love deep dives into movies. Again, very detailed, and this was all just from having a conversation with the AI to get that insight into the prompt. The second part is what I call the content requirements or the guardrails for your outputs. You are clearly layering out like, hey, I want this blog post to be conversational. I want it to have a hook. I want it to have takeaways from the film. I want it to naturally weave into the podcast episode. Why? because the goal for us as podcasters is for this piece of content to really drive traffic to our episodes. Okay? So we're laying out exactly what the AI should do in its output. Okay? The final piece, though, is the output format. What do we specifically want the AI to give us for output? So for a blog in this case, we might want an SEO-friendly title that's 70 characters or fewer. A meta description that's 150 characters for Google. We might want a blog body with subheadings and 3 to 5 keywords. These are all things that we know when we're talking with a copywriter or someone who is creating a blog that they're going to have to do. But we want to specifically have the AI spell that out, right? Now, this is the really final piece, though, of the prompt, is transcripts. If you've ever had an output from your AI that you're like, this doesn't sound like me, it doesn't sound authentic, it isn't reflective of my episode that I just spent a lot of time working on, you need to give it a transcript. The transcript is going to provide that authenticity, and it's also going to provide a knowledge base for the AI to pull information for its outputs. Okay? It's also going to give you the voice of your podcast through the outputs because it's analyzing the transcript and formulating it based off your voice. The final piece, too, is that transcript, especially if you're making YouTube versions, can give you navigational information. So if you have a transcript that has a time code attached to it, you can ask the AI, hey, I want you to extrapolate 10 chapters that are SEO keyword rich based on this movie that are for YouTube based off of the time codes in my transcript. And it'll analyze it, and as long as there's time codes there, it'll pull it. So it's worth noting that no matter what you do with AI, you have to always, always, always include a transcript along with your prompt. So let's look at 4 use cases for AI. 4 things that AI can do specifically for podcasters. The first one is in pre-production, okay? You thought I was going to go into production part. No, we can do pre-production stuff with AI too. So for pre-production, if you are either doing interviews in your show or you're just doing kind of a topic-based show like mine, I use the AI to really help formulate my run of show really well. So if I'm reviewing a movie and I'm like, hey, I want to come up with like, how should my episode be like formatted and what segments I should focus on, I can just talk to the AI and say, hey, these are my thoughts on the film that I watched, and help me formulate that into a run of show. It can do that. And it can do it with, you can use ChatGPT or DeepSeek or something like that to do it. A simple chatbot can do that. For interview-based podcast, you'll notice on here I say inspire interview questions. I am not advising you to ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm interviewing so-and-so, give me 10 questions, please. That is the worst thing to do. What I instead suggest doing is kind of like with the prompt that I talked about. Give it as much information about who you're interviewing and then ask it for questions and then look at those questions and go like, okay, using my brain, not the AI brain, can I get inspiration from those questions that are human, right? Because we don't want the robot to do the work for us. Post-production. This is where it gets fun, okay? Post-production, if you're doing a video podcast, okay, there are plugins out there that use AI to analyze your audio and also either generate a transcript from it, and they can either apply effects or edits to your video automatically. I'm going to focus on 3 here, but there are a lot of them out there. TimeBolt is one that I've used a lot. It's fantastic by the simple virtue that it can remove silences and remove extra takes just through analyzing by AI, okay? You can do a bunch of other things too, like the laundry list of what TimeBolt can do is impressive. But for podcasters, just removing silences, removing takes, it can do that easily. AutoCut and AutoPod are 2 plugins for DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro that really help out people who are doing multicam edits. So either multicam where you've got 3 cameras set up and you're doing kind of a studio type deal, or multicam if you're using something like Riverside or StreamYard and you have isolated audio and video tracks. I have used this where I can take an hour-long podcast episode, press a button, and this thing will literally look at who is speaking and automatically cut to their camera. It's kind of weird and magical in a sense because you'll literally see the timeline like shift and slice apart before your very eyes. It's not perfect, but it's 95% of the way there. AutoCut and AutoPod also can help with social clip creation. So if you want to make TikToks, Instagram Reels, based off of your episodes, you press a button and boom, it creates another sequence automatically formatted for Instagram and TikTok. AutoCut is cool. I actually like it a little bit more because it can do the work of removing expletives from your podcast. So if you do a clean podcast, maybe you bring a guest on and they had a couple spicy words that you want to remove, well, guess what? You can press a button, it'll analyze it through its transcript, find out those words, and bleep them, okay? You can even add in automatic royalty-free B-roll using AutoCut, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if that necessarily works for podcasters, but it's a nice feature to have in a tool. Now, audio-only folks, don't worry, I didn't forget about you either. For audio, I see AI helping in enhancing your audio, removing some of those effects that you might have put in Audition or in your chain that honestly, you have to tweak each and every time. So for this case, Adobe Enhanced Speech, which if you have Premiere Pro and you're doing kind of audio and video both, it's built into it. I believe if you sign into Adobe Podcast, you can use it too, so it's kind of both. You can use it that way. But what this does is basically it removes background noise, has a little bit of EQ boost, and it also does a little bit of compression. Okay, that's in essence what this does. Crumple Pop from Boris Effects is a collection of these tools, and ultimately what they do, like there's some that remove noise, there's some that remove rustle from your microphone. Like I've used the pop remover to remove plosives automatically. If you've ever had to remove a plosive, you know that's not fun. But this does it automatically through AI analysis. Isotope VEA and Clarity VX kind of are similar to Adobe Enhance, that they're basically applying noise reduction, EQ, and compression boosting. Okay. The thing to note, though, is that with AI tools, we always want to use them sparingly. We want to do a little bit, not a ton, because it will introduce some weird artifacts that nobody wants to deal with, right? Packaging. Packaging is important if you are doing YouTube. So if you're a video podcaster, this is something you got to listen to. But AI can help on that front. So for titles and descriptions, this, I will be 100% honest with you. When I first started using AI, this is the one task I wanted it to remove for me. I hate doing titles. I hate doing descriptions. It's the least fun part of the podcast production process. So I use ChatGPT and DeepSeek and all these other platforms, and I literally feed it my transcript and say, hey, give me 5 to 10 titles and descriptions that are SEO rich, that are aligned to providing intrigue for YouTube that I can use for my show. Okay, so it's informed by my transcript. Now, the thing is that there are plugins that can work specifically for YouTube. vidIQ, TubeBuddy, these are very similar in that they have AI built in to handle a lot of this process. Okay? But with any sort of AI, when it comes to titles and descriptions, you always want to keep in mind what works for that output. So in case of YouTube, you want intrigue to be key. Ask yourself the question, what is going to intrigue my audience to click on that video? Okay? And you also, with titles and descriptions, want to make sure you have keywords in there. Because guess what? That's how you get found in search on YouTube. Okay? Thumbnails. You might think that I will be up here saying, yes, use AI for thumbnails. I'm going to argue that you shouldn't. Okay? And here's my thought process on why. As podcasters, our biggest selling point is that we are authentic. We are giving authentic stories, authentic conversations. Our authenticity is important. But when you have a piece of packaging that is phony, it is counter to that authentic argument. So, like, we're not Mr. Beast. We are never going to be that. That's okay, though. We are more like Diary of a CEO, who maybe uses AI as a little bit of augmentation, right? So I'm more in the mindset of use AI as a tool in the creation of your thumbnail, not a generation of your thumbnail. So like I'll use Photoshop's generative fill to extend images or remove things from my image assets that are then going to go be incorporated in the thumbnail that I personally create. but I'm not going to let the AI, through a sentence or a prompt, generate my thumbnail for me. Because I want to remain authentic. That's important to me as a podcaster. Marketing. Marketing is an area where I was completely surprised can be used in AI. So this is an example of one of my shows. I did an episode on Sinners, and I used it for content repurposing. So this helped me create a blog post, newsletter, social posts, video clips, all of that created just from my transcript and a very smart prompt. The key, though, with any sort of outputs and content repurposing is you want to make sure that it aligns to your podcast voice and that you're kind of free of some of the delusions that AI can give you sometimes. If you've ever seen it, it might say, hey, this actor was in this film. And you're like, no, I watched the movie. That didn't happen. Okay? AI-guided marketing strategy. This is the cool thing, okay? So I use Libsyn, obviously, for my show to host. And one of the neat things that we have is the ability to download all of your stats historically as a CSV file. So I wanted to use AI and actually see, okay, can the AI analyze my CSV file that has 9 years worth of downloads? And analyze and tell me, okay, what episodes I should double down on? What outputs are actually getting the most downloads? Like what platforms are doing well? And actually tell me some things I can do to actually get more downloads. So it's using my download data in a smart way. And what was funny was it actually told me that I should get my website redesigned. So I used the AI's instructions and kind of started to rebuild my website. I knew I was going to need to do it because my website was really old. But I used it to actually help build a framework that put my podcast front and center to try to get more traffic to my episodes. It also gave me a social post strategy that honestly got rid of a lot of roadblocks for me. I was trying to post everywhere, like on every platform. Don't do that. So it told me like, hey, based on your release date, you should probably do like an Instagram series of posts on this date, right? So that was basically an AI-guided marketing strategy. Something that, you would think like you could just talk to a marketer and they might help you out, but the AI did it for me. And finally, let's talk about AI agents. Okay, so AI agents, what these do is they allow you to scale the AI use case beyond just a simple prompt. Okay, so this is kind of like combining the AI brain with actions. Okay, so these sort of AI agents, this is one that I actually made, where you can actually create a master set of instructions that the AI follows, so a master prompt, and you can actually connect it via API connections to something like Zapier or another tool that'll actually allow it to do something with those outputs. The really neat thing about this is that this AI can be trained on your own data. So if you've got a whole back catalog of podcasts, or if you have a master like Bible for your podcast, you can give it that and say, this is my podcast, talk to me in this voice, and it will do it, okay? Some notable AI agents are things like custom GPTs from ChatGPT. That's actually what I used to build this, but Gemini has Gemini Gems. And then if you really want to get fancy and you really want to do some crazy stuff, N8N and Make.com give you a visual workflow to create AI agents. And this is kind of an example of that workflow. So I'll have like an episode transcript. I feed it into my AI brain that has that master prompt. It generates a bunch of assets based off of its already pre-made prompt. So things like a QR code that I could slap on a sticker and do kind of guerrilla marketing with, or a blog or a newsletter. All of those things generated automatically, and then with the added benefit of connected to something like Google, you can have it send an email to you with those outputs. It's crazy. So some final thoughts. I really believe that AI is a tool. I am not a negative person on AI. I think it has effects negatively that can be done, but I really believe that that is all down to user intent. If the user's intent is to lay off 1,000 people and replace them with AI, yeah, that's negative, and that's a terrible use case for it. But I really believe that history gives us a guide on how to navigate this area that we're in now. And if you're trying to get into AI, prompt mastery is really the key, but you always got to back it with transcripts. If you don't have transcripts, you're going to get inauthentic results that are not going to serve your purposes. And if you're a solo podcaster, or if you're like me and you've got a co-host, who does a lot, but he doesn't do all the things that you do. It's a tool. If you can't afford a team, AI can help you out in ways to at least make it so that you can get your podcast done on time, on the regular for your audience. And then finally, if you're scaling up, AI agents are the future. Combining AI with actionable things that it does is really where we're going, where I see this technology moving. And with that said, are there any questions? Oh, yeah. Talk about the AI agent. So the one I made? Yeah. So I used, the question was talk a bit about the AI agent that I created. So I was experimenting with ChatGPT, and I was looking into custom GPTs. It is a feature that you have to pay for it. So if you're just using the free version, you can't create them. You can use them in the free version. But I literally was saying to that ChatGPT, hey, I want to create an AI agent, custom GPT, that does X, Y, and Z. So I wanted to create a QR code, give me a blog, give me 7 social posts. Okay? Took that, said that, put it in its instructions, and then I fed it transcripts from my episode. And I said specifically, hey, ask for a transcript when someone asks for an option. And yeah, it's really easy to use. The more advanced ones like N8N and Make.com, they're not code heavy, but they do require a little bit of understanding of how, just programming works, where you've got one input going into an output and so on and so forth. But they're not that complicated to learn. There's tons of tutorials out there on this stuff.
All right,
yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So between ChatGPT and Gemini and other software that are out there, what do you recommend or do you prefer to use?
I mean, it depends on what you want to do. Like for me, I like ChatGPT. I like the outputs I was getting, but I've experimented with Claude. I've experimented with DeepSeek. I like the voice I get in ChatGPT a little bit better. But I haven't, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I haven't used GPT-5 yet. And I've heard some negative things about GPT-5. So it really just comes down to, trying out these and seeing which one fits more your writing style and fits more the voice of your podcast. Yeah. Anyone else? Yep, I think right there.
Appreciate the talk. Very
Yeah.
cool. My company helps people with video, and I like to encourage people to make videos that aren't typical. Have you found any uses for chat and the like that are just really productive but not something typical? Weird uses or things that helped you out you didn't even expect?
I'm curious about what you mean by not typical.
Everything you showed here, someone who has a podcast could
Yeah.
go, oh, I need that. That's typically something I would have to do or hand off.
Yeah.
Have you found any weird uses where you're like, oh, I never thought of that until you did it?
I mean, for me, not really. It's mostly been a matter of these processes that I was outlining were things that I was doing myself as a podcaster that I was like, I can't, as a person, and have 4 kids and a wife and job, I can't do all of that. So it was really like, hey, I want to take some of these tasks off of my plate and have the AI help in that front. So like for me, that was my modus operandi with going down this path. But I have not played around with anything non-typical for a podcaster. Any other questions? Yeah.
My last one.
That's cool.
Yeah, so with YouTube, is Gemini better for YouTube because it is through Google? So like GPT you can't just paste a YouTube video and ask it to do.
So
you have to give it a transcript, right?
Yes. You always have to go lead in with the transcript, even from YouTube. And with Gemini, I believe you still have to give it a transcript as well.
Is there any advantage to being on Gemini because it is through Google? You think?
I mean, it really, like, I haven't seen any advantage or disadvantage. I mean, these chatbots are honestly kind of designed the same way.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. It's more like, which one do you prefer to work with best? Which one gives you the best voice? That's what I always lead with. If one output sounds less robotic and more like you, go with that output. But, yeah. I think I got like 30 seconds left, so one more question. No? Okay, cool. Well, I will be over here, but thank you again. It's been a pleasure, and have a good rest of the conference.